Oh, not too bad. Whoa, hold on a second. There it is. That's hot. That is really hot. That is just lighting me up. Welcome to Whiskey is a Journey. My name is Peter Fasciano, and in today's journey, we are going to finish up my 6-week distillery tour of Buffalo Trace Distillery, and we're going to be taking a look at Stagg Jr., specifically batch 15. So let's go ahead and pour it, nose it, taste it, and talk about it. So Stagg Jr. batch number 15 is coming in at 131.1 proof, which is 65.55% ABV. This, by far, is the strongest whiskey that I've had to date. And to be quite honest, I only started my journey back in January of 2022 of this year. So I'm a little bit intimidated by this, but we'll see how it goes. So let's go and give this an initial nosing. Right off the bat, I am just hit with ethanol. This is just very, very strong to my nose. Coming in again at 131.1 proof. It's uncut, unfiltered. It's a non-age statement bourbon, but it's rumored to be somewhere around 8 to 9 years old. MSRP on this is anywhere around $50, maybe a little bit higher. I think the longer you go away from the batch, I think it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but $50 isn't saying much. Good luck finding this. I've said in my previous videos, most of the Buffalo Trace stuff that I've been doing is highly allocated. I've never seen this on the shelf of, let's say, a Total Wine & More or a Bevmo or just a normal place that you find liquor. I've seen them in liquor stores behind the counter, but they go for an exorbitant amount of money. $150 all the way up to $350. On the nose, everything's classic here. Vanilla, caramel, brown sugar, but that's backed up by a lot of ethanol. I mean, a lot of ethanol. This just burns a lot, which makes me think that it's gonna burn going down. Yeah, not much more I'm getting on the nose. Let's go ahead and give it a taste. Oh, not too bad. Whoa, hold on a second. There it is. That's hot. That is really hot. That is just lighting me up. Now let's go ahead and do another sip here so I can kind of get acclimated to this. All right, on the palate, I'm getting the vanilla, I'm getting caramel, I'm getting brown sugar, and I do believe that is cherry. I'm getting a little bit of a cherry or a jammy note. Not quite grape jelly, but there is a jamminess to this. Not quite grape. Actually, no grape at all. I'm going with cherry. There definitely is a cherry note to that. Oh, it's hot. Oh, it's hot. Yeah, cherry note. There's definitely a cherry. Cherry, vanilla, caramel, brown sugar. There is a sweetness, a little bit of spice. You know, right now, there is no finish. I expected this being uncut, unfiltered. I expected it to be oily, viscous, a little bit thicker than it is. Maybe it's the ethanol, but it just evaporates. And I'm not left with much of a finish at all. I mean, my mouth is on fire because of the ethanol, but I'm not getting oak tannin on the side of my tongue. I'm not getting any spice in the back of the palate. I don't have any sweetness on the front or in the mid palate. I'm just left with ethanol. It disappears really fast. Wasn't expecting that. Again, on the nose, caramel, vanilla, brown sugar. I'm a little taken back by that. I expected a little bit more. Lots of ethanol, lots of heat, slight vanilla, slight brown sugar, not overly sweet. Now it's starting to turn a little bit bitter, a little bit of barrel tannin maybe, that tang on the side, but it's very subtle. It's just very hot, very ethanol, evaporates, and I've got nothing. There's nothing there. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. Let me go ahead and add water and see if it does something to this, and we'll go ahead and finish up talking about Buffalo Trace. Or actually, I'm just going to finish up talking about Stagg. So Stagg Jr., just like most of the Buffalo Trace lineup that I've been doing, has not been around very long. I believe they started Stagg Jr. back in 2013. They release 2 batches a year. Like I had mentioned, this is batch 15. I believe this was the second batch release of 2020. This was released in the fall. And what's interesting is they dropped the Junior off of the label starting with batch number 18. So now it's just known as Stagg, not Stagg Jr. And it's interesting, none of the proofs are the same. So that's how you distinguish the difference between batch 1 all the way through batch 17. Coincidentally, batch number 18, that does not have the Stagg moniker anymore, is also the exact same proof as 15. So it's 131.1. So I guess the only way to distinguish the difference between batch 15 and batch 18 is going to be one says Junior and the other one does not. And I'll go ahead and put a list of all of the individual batches with their proof numbers on there. So if you're curious on what batch you might have, I'll go ahead and put it right there. Let's go ahead and see if the water did anything to this, and then we will go ahead and jump on to the score and wrap this video up. Vanilla brown sugar caramel. I do get a sweetness, but I can't pinpoint the sweetness as a cherry. I think it's just the vanilla and the caramel and the brown sugar. Nothing fruity there. Nothing floral. And not much spice. Let's go ahead and taste it. Okay, with that little bit of water, I'm now getting spice. I've got cinnamon. The oak tannin is a little bit more pronounced. It's hanging around a little bit longer. It hasn't just evaporated and disappeared. The water tamped down the sweetness. I'm no longer getting much of the caramel or the brown sugar or the vanilla. Let me go ahead and give that a taste. Oh, they got cherries there. That's amazing how quickly these things change and how, depending upon where your nose is or what kind of whiff you get, it changes. I ended up having one whiskey. I ended up getting coffee, like really like freshly ground coffee, but I could never get it again. I was trying to get the whiskey all over the place, and I couldn't pick up on that note again. It was just there and gone, just like that. But I did get cherry on that one. Let's go ahead and taste it again. Oak tannin, peppery, a little bit of cinnamon there. The fruity note kind of took a back seat to the spiciness now. This reminds me a little bit more of the E.H. Taylor small batch. It's on that kind of the spiciness. Before I added the water, it reminded me more of the Eagle Rare. It had that sugary sweetness to it. But now with the water, I'm getting 2 totally different whiskeys here. Lots of ethanol still, even with the drop of water in there. One last sip and then on to the score. All right, so on that last sip, I definitely got sweetness on the front of my tongue. Mid palate, kind of evened out. Gave me a little bit more of a tannin bite on the side of the tongue. Turned a little bit bitter. Very back, I'm getting a little bit of cinnamon. Ethanol still there. The finish is lingering a little bit, but it's more of a tannin, tangy finish rather than a sweet or a spicy. All right, on to the rating system. Just like all the other Buffalo Trace, this is out of a 5-star rating. To be quite honest with you, this is lacking complexity. I thought that this one was going to be the most complex. I thought this was going to be the most viscous, the one that stuck around the longest, the one that took me for a ride the most. And it's just not there. It seems to me that the 131.1 proof is there just to be proofy. And I'm not getting a lot out of this as far as flavor. The finish is not hanging around. It's hot. It's a little bit spicy. It's more tannin and more bitter than I thought it was going to be. To be quite honest, at this particular point in time, I would reach for the Buffalo Trace bourbon more than this, which is a little bit disappointing. Because of that, I'm going to have to give this 3.25. 3.25. Yeah, 3.25. That's a shame. This just seems to be more ethanol than anything. Less flavor than I thought it was going to have. It doesn't develop into anything, and I'm not getting much out of it. So 3.25. That's disappointing. That does it for me for Buffalo Trace. But actually, it doesn't really do it for me with Buffalo Trace. I still have all of the benchmark lineup, but it's time for me to get away from the bourbons. I'm going to head over to Scotland and I'm going to start doing some single malt scotch. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around, subscribe to the channel. If you know anybody that is interested in this content, go ahead and share it with them. If you know anything about batch 15 of Stagg Jr., leave some comments down below. So do all those things that the YouTubers tell you to do. Like, subscribe, share, comment down below. And I think that's where I am going to leave it for the Buffalo Trace Distillery. I hope you guys enjoyed this last 6 weeks of content. Again, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. And until next time, enjoy your journey. Talk to you guys later. Bye.